Everybody knows that the individual have no access to the cabinet.
Everybody knows? Wrong. So the moral of the story is, whether you are Earl,
This is iSports Cricket Thursday with the one, the only, the fearless one, Andre Errol Batiste. Previously on iSports.
Good evening, Andrea. Thanks for that splendid introduction.
Has won the match for the West Indies. The West Indies team run onto the oval, and one of the great results in Test match history has just been witnessed here at the Kensington Oval.
Previously.
Here's Henry. Here he goes again. Another big one. It's another scorcher, and they've won the game. Incredible innings. Brings up his 50 as well.
Previously.
This is a tricky question. Which one do you prefer, cricket or horse racing?
Dead heat.
It's too close to call.
They went across the line together.
Across the line together.
Previously on iSports.
The West Indies Cricket Board came on iSports with the fearless one,
Mr. Dave Cameron. So let me welcome him for the first time here. Good evening and thank you for the time.
Good evening.
A lot was exposed.
It's not, let me just make the comment. It's not about,
And the WICB saying one thing,
we are not willing for intervention by CARICOM.
but then changing their mind.
And I shouldn't say that. The CARICOM is CARICOM, and if CARICOM says that we need to come and speak to them, certainly.
Then the WICB got confused.
But we will have Gale and those guys playing, and we will be happy.
And the fearless one, Andre Errol Batiste, turns the screws.
Also, you believe Gale and then will eventually come back into the West Indies team?
And the WICB got stumped out.
I prefer not to answer that question.
Because,
And then the WICB finally concedes they have lost. Not only this discussion, but in words.
But you just said you expect Gale and them to come back. Am I wrong? All right. I think we lost Mr. Cameron there. Maybe he's lost for words.
Now, here's your host for the night, the unforgettable Andre Errol Batiste.
Unforgettable. That's what you are.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome again to another edition of iSports. Today is Thursday, the 15th of March, 2018. And tonight, we talk about an upcoming event on April the 28th. It's rough and tough, but it's rough and tough with a difference. We'll tell you more about that a little bit later on. Roxanne is alongside me. Roxanne, good evening and welcome.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
And then this from about 7:25, 7:30, we talk your favorite sport, people. Not the most popular sport, that is, but your favorite sport these days, cricket. We talk from just about 7:25. But now, we start to talk about this event that takes place, as I mentioned to you, on Saturday, the 28th of April. It's the Caribbean International Invitational Open Combat Sport Championship 2018, MMA Sambo. It's rough and tough, and it takes place at the National Cycling Velodrome in Couva from 9 a.m. in the morning. It starts at 9 a.m. with the preliminary matches. Then, of course, the main action starts from just about 6 p.m. in the evening into the night time. Joining me to talk about that is a man who is known as the Sambo Man. He's the president of the Sambo Federation in Trinidad and Tobago, Jason Fraser. He's alongside me. Jason, good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Andre. Good evening to all our loyal listeners. Nice to be here.
And right next to him is a young lady who, while she will be at Rough and Tough, she will not be at Rough and Tough to be involved in fighting in the ring. Instead, she'll be part of a very special delegation. And she'll tell us much more about that very shortly. Maria Burns Ortiz joins us. And Maria, welcome.
Hi, and hi to all the listeners too, including my cousin Ashelle, who is tuning in.
All right, very well, very. She has some family in Trinidad and Tobago. So first, let me start, obviously, with Jason. Jason, Rough and Tough, tell us a little bit about what's going to be different, and then we'll go into Maria, obviously.
Well, this Rough and Tough is Rough and Tough 8. 8 after 3 years, so we are actually growing rapidly. This event is an event that Rough and Tough, along with the Trinidad and Tobago Sambo and Combat Sambo Federation, the Trinidad and Tobago Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, along with the Amateur Boxing Board of Control, Amateur Boxing, come together to put on a unique event, one that never take place before, a weekend of combat sport. So we're going to have combat sambo, sports sambo, women combat sambo, grappling, boxing, and full contact high kick. And on the Sunday, we're going to have beach wrestling. So it's a packed weekend with over 25 countries would definitely be here, as far as Australia, Russia, Malaysia, Bangladesh, and Brazil would be at the highlight in the night.
And all at the velodrome, all of the cycling velodrome.
Yes. The only thing that will not be there is on the Sunday.
The beach.
Yeah, we with 7 Generation, who is very unique in what they bring to the table. And what they bring to the table that we see that is a need in Trinidad and Tobago and the wider Caribbean is where you actually bridge the gap with education and sport. From an early age as 5 to 14, 15, I'll leave it up to Maria, but what we believe in is that we need strong minds and strong bodies in order to be a complete athlete, and to there's life after sport. So what Maria and they bring to the table, 7 Generation, is a unique game, an educational game. Is not just a game, but it's a game that prepare you for the future, and will also prepare our athletes to build confidence, everything. So, and if you remember, when our athletes used to come in the 80s, they used to catch your tear to talk. But now we put a mic in front of one of them. That is because we did a lot of public speaking work with them and so forth. These guys speak fluent. But here, with 7 Generation, they actually bridging the gap from an early age. So even though you are a low learner, it don't just have to be sports. It could be in all walks of life. You know, it could be going to school. It could be in youth groups, church groups, you know. So it's a very good, unique program, because I think it will also be perfect for like the police youth clubs, and they like, because the police have those police youth clubs in certain communities that they work with. So it's a very unique product.
So let's talk to Maria. Maria, welcome. Maria, this is your first time in Trinidad and Tobago?
Yeah.
All right. Coming to Trinidad and Tobago, how did it all start? How did you make contact with Jason Fraser? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so my mom came down last year for a vacation and to see family. And she was down here, and I think Jason saw her maybe on Twitter or Instagram, Facebook, and jumped on a plane from Trinidad, flew over to Tobago, and said, you know, I'm really interested in meeting with you. Learned about the video game company and said, we need to do something with this. So for now, almost a year, I think it's almost exactly a year, we've been talking about how we can do that, how we can bring it here. And this seemed like a great opportunity to kind of roll out our Strong Bodies, Strong Minds campaign that we're doing, and just come and meet with a bunch of, education folks, Ministry of Youth, Sport, Education, and talk about rolling the program out here.
This is the only country in the Caribbean so far that you all are considering.
Our South America operations, and we were looking at the Caribbean. We see a huge potential here and a huge need, and so we said, well, let's start in Trinidad. And we want to. One of the things too is we don't just want to come in and say, hey, buy our thing. We want to come in. We're looking at what we're working, what we need to do to set up an office, and how we can have part of our staff here, because we really think to be part of the community, you have to be part of the community. So yeah, we're really, not only is it talking about the program, but also now looking at what do we need to do to get everything set up so that we can have our office as our Caribbean headquarters right here.
All right, so the idea is that, of course, 7 Generation will be here on April the 28th. But before that, what about discussions with the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Sport? Because it's all interlinked.
Exactly. And so we had some really great conversations so far saying, here's what we have in mind. We can customize the game. So it's not just a game, but it's a game that really reflects the culture here. It would have voiceovers, and all of the content would be from this community, from Trinidad and Tobago. And so that's something that we've been talking about. And obviously there's an issue almost around the world. So there's a few countries that are performing well at math, but the vast majority are not. And so we came in and we said, okay, here's the issue we've seen. Obviously, people know the data. What can we do to fix it? And I've been really impressed and surprised in some ways, because a lot of governments or, district level, they say, yeah, we want to fix it, but not let's go and figure out how we can do it. And in the conversations and the questions that I've been getting, there's a real clear desire to improve education in this country. And so I'm really excited to hopefully be a part of that going forward.
So tell us a little bit about yourself for those who don't know. You mentioned your mom was here.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit. I mean, I haven't revealed as yet who you are.
It's a spoiler, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So my mom is Anne Maria Rousey DeMars. She was the first American World Judo Champion. And she also is a co-founder in this company. She has a PhD in statistics, and she says one of those two things allowed her to build a company and live right next to the beach. And it was not the gold medal from the World Judo Championships. But yeah, so she's my mom, and she has 4 daughters, including one of whom is Ronda Rousey, who was a UFC pioneer and now is in WWE, and we co-authored her book together. So
you don't fight, unlike Ronda, you're not into that game.
No, I feel like don't need people around the world going to sleep thinking about how they could beat me up. So,
so you never tried it at all?
No, I think I did judo. Well, my mom tells a story about when I was, I think, 5 or 6, and she kind of felt like, well, maybe my kid should try judo, and so she tells a story about how I went, did one tournament, won, and then decided to go out on top and retire.
So have you? What about Ronda? You obviously, I mean, you all must talk about it. You would have fought Ronda at some time.
Oh, well, yes. My mom had 3 of us in 4 years, so there was a lot of fighting. We actually put, people talk about boys fighting with each other. We put boys to shame, the 3 of us. And Ronda was the youngest of the 3. There was a 4th one who came later, but so Jennifer and I, who is our other sister, we claim that we're one of the few women on the planet, possibly the only women on the planet, to have ever claimed multiple victories over Ronda in a fight. And now Ronda says to us, I think we should have a rematch. She's really, really pushing for a rematch. But, Jennifer and I were well, now Ronda as well. We're all married ladies. We've got children. I mean, we can't be. Exactly.
But, tell us a little bit more about yourself, because I understand from Jason, obviously, in talking to him, that you were also very much into sports media as well.
So I spent the first decade, actually, of my career in sports media. I had a newspaper column. I had a column with ESPN. I wrote for a sports column for Fox News Latino. So I spent, a lot of years writing about sports, attending sporting events, and so it was a great. And then I got to the point where I thought it was fun, but this opportunity came up, and I thought this sounded amazing too. So here I am doing 7 Generation Games.
And Jason, and when we listened to Maria, she mentioned, of course, that you all would have had discussions with the ministry. How, from your perspective, the people are trying to become obviously much better than her.
Yes, well, when we had, as she said, we was talking about this for over a year and how we could integrate it, because it's not just about, I didn't see it as a opportunity for it to just be for our federation or we just bring it in here. I thought it would have worked better for the greater good of Trinidad and Tobago youths, because when you sit down and being a sports administrator for so long, the age that children start to give problems is from between that 11 to 14 years that I had to pull back. And most of it is because some of them are slow learners in school, so they just find something to beat their chest about. So it's how we could have actually managed that. And we have been talking for a while, and when should she come to Trinidad and so forth. And last week she was like, I'm going to buy my ticket. I said, no problem. Just come, everything will be in place. But I was trying to get a meeting with the Ministry of Education, the key person for so long, and it wasn't coming through. And then I whispered to the minister, say, we have a great opportunity coming here. We could bridge the gap between sports. And he said to me, talk to Creed, because he spent a number of years here. And that was a super great meeting yesterday, and he was blown away by after he saw the video and the presentations and all of that. And one time he organized the same person I'm trying to meet for so long. Okay. And I was like, who is the person responsible for the curriculum? And today, they had a whole big team. When they come in, we was like, it's 12 years old, one man. Yeah, and then it's turned out to be super good. They were super interested. And I think that it is what the country needs in order to bridge that gap.
What would have made you, Jason Fraser, decide to incorporate this? Because this is the first I've known that any sporting organization has actually tried to encourage an educational event at another event.
Well, at the end of the day, it comes from experience in traveling and being in other international events. You always try to do something different and to stand out. You must be a cutting edge. And then with federations and so forth, there's always the need that people think that they always go for something, but what do you give back? And I recognize the social aspect that this could fill a gap. And I think that on this event, because they are, as I said to Maria, we're going to spread this through the Caribbean and so forth, because we leave for to have a meeting with Heads of CARICOM tomorrow in Guyana. So we leave in here about 3 o'clock in the morning. I think so should have
3 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah, out on the first flight.
Wow.
So we have a packed day because she's going back on Saturday.
Okay.
And we meet with the Minister of Education, there, the CEO, and a few people in Guyana, plus some interviews. So she was like, you know what, let's do it. Let's get it over with and just get the ball rolling. So at the end of the day, I believe in taking challenges, and if I think that there's something that could impact life and change life and effect change in people's life, good, because this game is so interactive that even though for single parents, even though the parent is at home, the kids could pick it up and just go through it on their own and all of that. The game talk back to you, talk back to the game.
Tell us a little bit more about the game as well. Maybe for those listening who want to know a little bit more detail.
Yeah. So what we decided, well, first we looked at, kids are not they're not going to go and try a math game over and over, or math problem over and over, right? But you look at a video game, and kids will play a same video game over and over and over and over to get incrementally further. And we thought, well, if you could take that and you can apply that to teaching math, we'd really be onto something. And so then we thought, okay, well, how do we do that? And we knew a video game would be a great one. And then we said, well, it needs to look like a video game because kids are smart and they will see through you. I always say we do kind of that age group we talking about, 11 to 14. They are the best critics if you're willing to take the criticism because they will tell you what they think. And so we knew that the bar was pretty high. So we created video games that are these virtual worlds, kind of 3D looking video games. And then the math is in the context of the game. So you have, say, 8 sick people and you need 3 of an herb or an epidemic spreads. And as they go through, they play challenges where they're running around, looking for the herb and trying to find it before, the sun sets. And at the same time, then they get to the herb and they have to figure out, well, how many do you need and how many do you bring back? And so we have, Jason kind of hit on this a little bit, but we also have things built in. So we looked at what do good teachers do? And good teachers, if you have a word problem, they don't just, if you say, I don't understand, they don't just say, here's the answer. They'll say, well, here's the way it's asking you to multiply. And then if, say, a student puts in, if the problem's asking what's 8 times 3 and they put in 11, then the game can say, well, are you adding instead of multiplying? And then if they get it wrong twice, then it takes out and doesn't just give them more problems. Because so often you'll see games where if they get 8 times 3, well, then what's 8 times 5? What's 8 times 4? But it actually gives them the information needed. So there'll be a video that explains here's how you solve it. Or there's a page that they can pick. And they get to choose. So they feel like it's self-guided because kids want input in how they're learning as well. And so they can pick a page that, tells them here's how you solve the problem. It doesn't give them the answer, but it gives them the tools that they need to get there. And then they go back and they get into they answer the problem and then they get to keep playing.
So on April the 28th, there will be what, a booth? There'll be, right?
Yep. Yeah. So there'll be a booth and we'll have both video of the gameplay and then also we'll have actually devices there so people can check it out because I say that's the best way. I mean, I can tell you everything that's amazing about it, but the best way to see is to play it hands-on.
And of course, people listening to the program, they want to go online and find out more about it. They can go to our Facebook page.
Yeah, they can go. The best place to go is our website, which is 7 generationgames.com. Although we have a Facebook page, which is 7generationgames.com, and that will give you the information and direct you to any other resources.
And from your perspective, after the April the 28th, what's next in terms of establishing 7 generations in Trinidad and Tobago? Yeah,
so we're continuing. We're going to do a proposal in terms of getting the games into the education system here. We're setting up the office, like I said, so everything that needs to go into setting up an office in Trinidad and kind of building it out because it's not, like I said, we're in it for the long haul, and this is what we've said, all the communities and all the schools and everywhere that we're working across the U.S. and now in South American here. It's not just something where we realize that fixing education and improving things isn't something where, here you go, flip the switch, play the game once, and everything's changed. No, it's an ongoing process, and we're committed to that. So, this is the first trip, but it's the first kind of what I view to be a much longer relationship.
Jason, from your point of view, let's just touch a little bit about the event itself. Of course, we know that there are a number of top fighters from Trinidad and Tobago. Give us a little idea about some of the others that will be here as well.
Well, this event basically is going to be a signature event because we are looking forward to embrace the challenge to make this our annual event for Trinidad and Tobago because I know it's going to grow. Because we believe that too often Caribbean people on a whole always jump on a plane and go to like the Annos, which is Arnold Schwarzenegger Classic, the US Open and those things. It's time for we to have people come in here to our shows and turn the facilities that we have here, which is so much facilities, into put use to them, and get some sports tourism out of it. Headlining the event tonight is Josh Wilkins. He'll be coming up against the Brazilian. I can't remember his name right now. We're bringing back a guy who a lot of people have known in his days is what called Iron Man, Kenneth Bishop. He'll be coming up against the Cuban national champion, undefeated. We also have Erlan Maloney, who is undefeated, our number one amateur MMA fighter. His record is 9-0. And he'll be going to fight for the rough and tough lightweight tiger that night, because we haven't 8 tiger fights that night. We have Kirsten Manswell, former boxer. He'll be coming up against Jeremy Rampage Rodolfo.
Wow.
That's going to be a great fight. A lot of people show interest in that fight. Manswell will be coming out of retirement. His early days in boxing was super. Coming down to the late, he started losing.
Another Tobago man you bring in there.
Another Tobago man. But, that's going to be a good fight. I'm going to be very neutral that night.
All right.
But a surprise on the card, though, is Aaron Prince, who is right now outside fighting the boxing in CSC games. So he is going to be fighting on the night. And he actually, Fraser, want to do this. And Aaron has been after me for about a year. So I know you have been training for that. So he'll be coming up against a guy from Curacao, who also have some boxing background. So that's going to be a good fight. We have the world best referee in the world will be here, Herb Dean. It took us 2 years for him to reach here, but to us, he's a world-renowned referee. He have a lot of experience, and we will be grateful to welcome him and give him some training cards here. Karen Bourne, who, as we know, is our most, I just always say, he's the most best all-round combat sport fighter in MMA, sambo, kickboxing, everything. He'll be coming up against a guy from Venezuela, Lucas, who fought him and went twice over him. And I said, Karen is sure you want to fight, but Karen is undefeated in ring. He said, this is MMA, this is not sambo.
Oh, sambo.
I really need to get my revenge. So this guy actually won against Karen in World Championship in Casablanca in 2015. And Karen didn't talk for the whole day. I remember that day clearly in my mind. And then he stole the gold medal from Karen in Nicaragua also. Wow. Karen came second. So that's going to be a really, really tough fight also. We have this guy from Australia, Dean. He'll be coming up against the Jamaican Matthew. So we have a full card. It's going to be about 18
Any
fights.
women fighting? Any women as well?
We're now trying to finalize the women fight. We have 2 women who really need fights, but most of the women here, as soon as they pick up a little boyfriend,
they stop.
Yeah, the boyfriend don't want them going and grapple and that kind of thing. So, but the day comprise
I would say, get rid of the boyfriend then.
Yeah.
Might be easier said than done, but anyway.
But the day comprise of combat sambo. We're going to see that the event it start from 9 till on Saturday 28th at the National Cycling Center.
And then you mentioned also you'll be in Maracas.
Yes, Maracas is going to be on the Sunday. You're going to be beach wrestling. We have a lot of ladies coming in for that also.
The ladies coming for the beach wrestling?
Yeah, ladies coming for the beach wrestling.
Why that attract them so much?
I don't even know, trust me. And, I said, okay, there's going to be a stipulation before you all arrive. Whoever come in has to do grappling or sambo in order to take part in the beach wrestling because they already have tickets. So
yeah.
So we're going to start with the sambo that day, do all the eliminations, all the prelims, and then grappling. Our local best Herb Dean, I call him, Warren Gill. He's in charge of the officials. He put together a very good team. And then the boxing going to look after the boxing aspect and their officials. But let's get back to 7th generation because I want today to be about 7th generation. Not so much rough and tough. Rough and tough come in. I know that I-95 is our number one vehicle to help in this, our federation, which part we have for today. You know what caught my attention with 7th generation? There's proof of a 10-week program.
Okay.
That the results you see in children who use this program. Maria, touch on that.
Yeah, so we were funded originally by the U.S. Department of Agriculture to create
1.4 million U.S.
Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah. So, with almost $1.5 million U.S. To build educational software that would work in all communities. So that means remote communities specifically. They have an arm for rural and economic development to create software in particular for students that were on what we call the other side of the digital divide. So they don't have consistent internet all the time, and they're also not seeing themselves reflected in the media that they're consuming. But so we were funded by USDA, and so as part of that, we had to prove efficacy, that it worked, right? And we wanted to, because we were asking schools, replace math class twice a week with our game for 10 weeks. And so if it didn't work, we were stealing 10 hours of education from students they were never going to get back. So it was really important to us that it work. And we thought it did, but you don't really ever know if something works until you get it in people's hands. And so we had a pretest that was validated, and the kids took the pretest. They played the game for 10 weeks. And at the end of 10 weeks, the kids who played our games improved 300% over the control group. Wow. So they improved 30% start to finish in 10 weeks. And the next year we went back to do it again because my mom, who like I said, my co-founder, she's a statistician, and so she takes nothing for granted. There could have been 900, possible anomalies. So we went to do it again, and we went back, and the superintendent of the district said, well, we'll use the games, but I'm not giving you a control group. Everybody's going to play the game because this is an appointed position, and if people find out that I'm not giving this tool that everything we've seen so far shows works to the other school, I won't be in this position for long. Right. So we said, okay, we'll go down to the next school, the next town over. And they said, well, we've heard about it too, and we would definitely be in the group that plays the games, but we're not going to be your control group. We couldn't get a school in 100 miles that was willing to serve as our control group. Now, everybody said they would play the game, but nobody would be our control group. So we ended up making that work, and again, we saw 30% improvement from pre-test to post-test in 10 weeks. And so that was when we knew that we had something that we were really excited about, and we knew it worked. And that's when we said, okay, now we're going to start to really roll this out.
So is it really confined to 11 to 14 years, or is it a set age, or how does it work? So
we say it's about ages 8. The key ages are 8 to 14. Okay. And so it just depends. Some kids are more advanced, some kids aren't. And so that's kind of the area. That 11 to 14 we really view as our sweet spot because there's just not a lot being created for those kids in terms of fun educational games. But really, I would say 8 to 14 we start with multiplication and we work up.
So your mom is the mathematician, not you?
Right. Yeah.
So have you tried the game at all?
Jason? No, I look at it, I see they use it, and it's very user-friendly. When her mom was here, we visited a school in Chaguanas, and it was so amazing to see how the train gravitated. We went to that school for half an hour, right, and we ended up staying there for 3 hours.
Okay.
And that was standard 4 and 5, where we call them standard 4 and 5 here. And it was, the teachers, the principal was so amazed. And all of that was a motivation, to see.
So, Maria, from your perspective, what do you need, in your opinion, going forward to ensure that come April the 20th or after post-April the 20th and April the 29th, to ensure that 7th generation stays in Trinidad and Tobago and continues to grow in the region? What would you need from us?
We're just looking at, right now we're looking at getting the name out there, getting people to know about it so that they go and check it out. And really right now we're working on is figuring out how we're going to fund changing the game. Because like I said, we're not just coming in and saying, here's a game. We're going to make the game. What we can do with our games is we can customize them so it will be reflective of the community. So, the characters will look like local kids, and the scenery will look local, and the voices will be from local voiceovers, right? So for us, it's kind of figuring out, okay, right now we're doing the budgeting, we're figuring out what that's going to take and where we're going to find those people. So really right now we're just getting everything in order so when we come back in April, we can say, here's exactly what we need. Let's see what do we need to do to make this happen.
All right, so let me switch. How many MMA fights have you gone to in your time? Have you watched?
I have only ever watched Ronda's fights.
Only Ronda's fights?
Yeah, I'm the worst MMA fan. And we used to joke about this, me and my mom. One time we started doing a play-by-play, which we recorded somewhere, it's buried, but it's like the world's worst play-by-play because we're like, oh, look, the guy in the black shorts, the guy in the blue shorts, we were the worst people, and people would say, oh, who's Ronda fighting? And I'd say, I don't know, some girl. So there, we were huge MMA fans of Ronda, and we knew nothing else about anyone else. We, over the course of her fights, we were more knowledgeable. My mom, coming from judo, obviously had a lot of knowledge, but we didn't follow anyone else whatsoever.
Jason, from your perspective, I mean, I know you said you met with the Ministry of Education and of course the Ministry of Sport. How do you want to take this a step further? What message would you want to send from the meeting? Because we know in Trinidad and Tobago, and I say this in front of Maria, that you may have meetings, but sometimes nothing happens after the meeting, obviously.
Well, basically, they asked us to present a proposal. So,
Yes.
as I said to Maria, this is a situation that we have to keep on the heels of it. We have to respond by email, thank them for the meeting, and start putting our proposals together. She's going to come back here in April, set up a follow-up meeting, and do what we have to do. We know how the process is, but at the end of the day, I believe that you know how persistent I am.
Yes.
At the end of the day, I'll knock on your door until I get.
Because we would obviously.
So in the meantime, too, what I said to Maria, if we could try and at least come up with a template or something when she returns, so that we could present a template, and this is what we're going to go forward.
Well, I'm saying that only because of what you've just said, that Maria is going to Guyana, and I know the Guyanese people are quick. Sometimes might be quicker than Trinidad and Tobago, right? In some aspects, not all, but in some, and they may see the opportunity to seize and ensure that Guyana becomes the center rather than Trinidad and Tobago. So that's my one fear.
No, but it could really happen because the businessman I'm actually dealing with in Guyana, who I know for a number of years.
Yes.
He called me last night. He said, Jason, should I register the company in Guyana one time and call it, 7th generation Guyana?
Yeah.
Because we're going to go with this.
Yeah.
Because he said the people who come into the meeting tomorrow are definitely interested, and with the oil boom and all of that Guyana having, to add more.
So we're telling you, even though you go to Guyana, and I say this for all the Guyanese listening, too bad. Even though you go to Guyana, please, Trinidad and Tobago is much better. So at the end of the day, even though you may go to Guyana, nothing wrong with Guyana, but if you have a choice, obviously Trinidad and Tobago is your first choice. I say that without doubt, without fear.
Me too, and they could deport us before we land.
Yeah, well, I'm not traveling to Guyana. And as you say that, and I mean, I know there's a story. There's a story behind a story at your time at ESPN to do with the World Cup. Tell us about that.
Yeah. Well, this was actually right before I ended up with ESPN. This was this series that I'm talking about was how I got noticed by ESPN and ended up there. But yeah, so 2006 World Cup, I was a newspaper columnist and I was writing columns on the World Cup. And so one of my columns, they were very tongue-in-cheek kind of, but one of the columns, my friend had called me and he said he knew nothing about soccer or football. And he called me up and he said, I did one of those pools where everybody puts in $10 and then you draw out a name and whoever's team wins all the money. And he said, I got Trinidad and Tobago. Is that a good one? And I said, well, I mean, sounds great, but if I were you, if you mean to win the World Cup, I would just burn that $10 because you're never going to get it back. And so a couple days later, I get, one of those Google alerts. Your name's been in the news. And I look and it's an article, I believe it's from The Guardian here, but from the newspaper in Trinidad and Tobago. And it starts with world media counts out the, Soca Warriors.
Yeah.
And so the first paragraph starts with, Maria Burns of the Fort Wayne News Sentinel said that you might as well burn $10 as opposed to them having any chance of winning the World Cup. Which, let's be honest, I was covering soccer, so they weren't probably going to win the whole thing, right? Yes. And then it went on how the whole world media was counting them out, and so I thought, oh no! And so then they went and they performed pretty well in the first round, and so I wrote another column saying, I humbly beg forgiveness. I was really impressed by the way they came out and played and great, and so there was then another column about that, and my and then there was another column saying, the world media changes its tune, right? And so my editor told me, though, he said, You're never going to be welcome in Trinidad. And so when I was coming in, I was, kind of hoping maybe, I've been married, so my last name's now Burns Ortiz. Maybe whatever list I'm on, it got, thrown out. It's a World Cup year, so you never know.
So when you were checking your passport, you were just checking.
Exactly. Kept my eyes down in immigration.
I know. So, okay, tell us about that time of being a female journalist. Tell us about that. How was that experience?
It's funny because people talk a lot about in tech, right? I'm a woman in tech as well, and so I always say I went from about one as male-dominated field as you could to the other. I think it helps for me that, and you've met my mom, and anyone who's not met my mom.
Yes, I met your mom. Courtesy of
yes. Anyone. My mom is the type who raised all of her daughters to never think about, if someone says you can't do it, that means, okay, go do this right now and prove them wrong. So for me, being a woman in sport, it was one of those things where, there were challenges at times, there's people who discount you. I remember the thing that drove me crazy is there would be people, and, I was covering, professional sports, and I remember someone once said to me, well, do you really, and it wasn't, athletes weren't too bad, but, kind of a person who saw me interviewing someone, he said, do you even know anything about sports?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I just remember thinking, you would never go up to a doctor and say, do you know anything about operating? If I had that position, if I'm writing a column for ESPN, yes, I know something about sports. So that would drive me kind of crazy. But in this way of, people who didn't think that I knew it, that just motivated me more to prove them wrong and be better. And, went out and, Rhonda and I, we did her autobiography together, and it was Sport Book of the Year for the UK.
Okay.
So obviously I know a thing or two about not just sports, but writing. And so for me, it was one of the things about proving people wrong. And I think that's what we're trying to do now, too, is prove people wrong. People say, education can't be fixed. Well, we're going to prove people wrong. So, it was an interesting experience, but I think everything I did kind of actually set me up for this career.
Do you miss the journalism part or not?
For a long time I did. So I was a journalist for about 10 years now. We've been doing this company for 6 years. The last 3 years, that's all I've been doing. I haven't run any. And I do miss it from time to time. I did miss it in the beginning, but now I'm so excited about what I'm doing that it was something I did. It was really fun. I accomplished everything I wanted to do. And I think that's one big thing. Sometimes I grew up thinking, I want to be a sports journalist. I want to write for ESPN. And then I got that job, and it was great, but you don't want to think, I've reached the peak of my life. That's it. Yeah. So I accomplished that and went on and did the next thing. And I think that also comes from my mom, because she was a world judo champion, won that, okay, done, retired, went, got a PhD, okay, did that, taught for a little bit, now went and founded a company. And so it was kind of always look at what your next accomplishment is going to be. Don't live your entire life based around one accomplishment.
Roxanne?
Well.
Okay, Roxanne, just paying attention to you. So I thought you wanted to say something. She is just watching. As you go forward, what message would you send to maybe other young ladies out there in terms of whether it be in their career, be in sports journalism, whether their career be in tech, as you see, despite the odds?
Right. I think don't listen to anybody that, says you can't do it. To be honest, one of my things is people will say all the time you can't do it. And one of the things I say is, I don't heed the advice of people who say stupid things. So people will tell you can't do things all the time. And a lot of times it's from their own thing. They maybe wanted to do it and they didn't. Or they, if you succeed, then they view that as a threat to them. So my thing is don't listen to anybody. Maybe listen to your mother sometimes, but think about what's most important to you, and will you be able to be happy if you don't do it? And if the answer is no, then go and do it. I think too many people worry about what other people are going to think, and they worry about being the only one in the room. Let me tell you, being a woman in both sports media and tech, it's got challenges, but there's never a line for the bathroom, right? You're always the only one. So a lot of those things that you don't really think about, it's fine. And a lot of people say, there's a big talk, and especially in tech, about, speaking up. And don't be afraid to speak up, because you have important things to say, and your opinion is just as valuable as anyone else's. So I think ignore everybody that says you can't do it, because if you think you can, then you can.
Jason, your thoughts?
My thoughts? I think Maria said so much. First time actually coming in and thinking, Roxanne is speechless.
And first time you not talking as well.
Yeah,
because that's
so
rare.
Clinical with everything that
Okay, so as you go forward, obviously, how would you describe, in your words, how would you describe the importance of education and sport? Because that's important. There are a lot of persons that believe that they both can't, they're not interlinked, because a lot of times people say that a sportsman or sportswoman has to spend so much time on their respective sport that they will not have enough time to fulfill their educational abilities.
Well, I think a couple things. Like I said, my mom has a gold medal and in the World Championships and a PhD. So I don't believe that. At the same time, and I talk a lot about this, like I said, I worked in a lot of sports media. I study a lot of it. And you look at how many athletes make it, and we all know it's a tiny, tiny fraction. And that doesn't mean that you can't be in that tiny fraction, but the vast majority of people are not going to be. So what do you have to fall back on? And the answer is hopefully nothing. And one thing that I always say is, too, even if you are in that tiny fraction, how many stories have we heard about, this athlete had tens of millions of dollars and it was all taken from them, or negotiating contracts, or all of these things, that it's all part of it. And education and sports, sometimes people think that they're very different, but they're not. We look at math and we say, or say sambo or football or whatever. It's about having a foundation and building on it and going out and working really hard and then working hard the next day and getting something wrong and going back and improving it. And so they're not mutually exclusive. There's so many of the same skills. And I think too many folks, especially, and I've seen it a lot in sports, they just focus on that one thing and that's all their identity is. And then when that doesn't work out, then they have to figure out, and it's a really hard thing to do, who am I? What am I going to do? And if you have education to fall back on, it works out much, much, much better. And so I think part of it is not just saying, this is, and I talk about this too, it's not from, 9 to 10, I've done math and now I'm done. It's an integral part of every element of life. And so I think when people start to see how it is, let's say you're an athlete and you figure out nutrition, well, what is your calories, what's your intake, or you're looking at statistics, or you're looking at all of those different things, everything is math. And so when they've built in that education as well as that, sports foundation, I think that's where you get the most success. And you look at really a lot of the athletes who've been really successful. And now there's some athletes that have been really successful that, it's lucky for them they've been really successful because they don't have that education component. But the really, really successful athletes in a lot of cases, they're very well spoken, they're very well educated, they're very well able to, like I said, manage their money. Or even the not so great athletes who, professional athletes, but not the superstars, a lot of times they end up living better than the other athletes because they do have that education. They're able to manage their money. They're able to do all those things. So I think it's kind of, let's say you are a star athlete and you never need, to ever worry about anything. It's still good to be educated because it's important. And for everybody else, it is because you need something to fall back on.
From your in terms of Trinidad and Tobago, let's talk on a lighter subject. You've been here for 2 days.
Yeah.
How have you found Trinidad and Tobago?
Apart
from the time you've spent with Jason.
Right. Well, that's about, it's either been that or sleeping in my hotel room. We've been so busy. We've been all over. He was saying, I was saying I have no sense of direction, but we have been literally up and down and left and right. But it's beautiful, I always say. And I'm excited to come back because I hate to, when you go places and all you see is the inside of meeting rooms and the airport. But it's a beautiful country and everybody is so nice and I love the food and it's been a really fun experience.
What you have had since you've been here to eat?
So,
has he cooked for you? Or, no? And you laugh. Well, okay, it's a good thing you laugh because that I think it was a joke. That was a joke. It was a joke. But good.
I don't know the names of anything. There's been a lot of pumpkin.
Pumpkin?
Yeah.
Oh, you're a vegetarian?
Yeah, I am a vegetarian.
Okay, so that's why there's a lot of pumpkin. I was wondering why there's so much pumpkin. I mean, really? Potato and pumpkin?
Yeah.
So how long have you been a vegetarian?
Oh my gosh, 20 years.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Wow. So you got roti. I know you got roti
today.
Yep.
Yes, I know. It was good. It was good. Everything's been really good here. So I feel fortunate about that. Some countries, especially some countries in Latin America, you go and you say, I'm a vegetarian. They say, it's okay, it's only chicken. But, so I've been really happy here because there is a lot of vegetarian food.
There is. They are vegetarians here in Trinidad and Tobago. All right, Jason, as we go.
But before we go, Maria and the Rhonda and her mom and we start a conversation about the reality show. And that reality show is still on the table for Tobago. And she's the lady behind.
For Tobago?
Yeah,
okay, right.
Behind the reality show and putting the whole everything behind it together.
So that should be quite interesting. Jason will be in that reality show?
Of course.
Wow. It was an easy sell because he said, think about this. Take your company, you're building your company, you're going to build this game anyway. What if you did it on the beach in Tobago? And I thought, okay, I'm sold.
That's fairly easy to go. That's fairly easy. All right, so as you go, let me start with you. What sort of message you want to tell the people about this first?
Well,
coming up on the April the 28th.
April the 28th, come out and support our local athletes. We're going to see a lot of fresh faces in the Sambo department. Come and see our girls and do our grappling. Our local athletes definitely need the support. Not only that, this event is home. This is an international event. It's an event where it's going to be, flow sports are going to be carrying it live outside of the country, not in the country. We have Caribbean Media Corporation locked on with us, One Caribbean Vision. So at the end of the day, buy a ticket. And I mean, there's no event you could get in Trinidad for 5 different sports at 200 TT General. At the end of the day, bring out your family. It's going to be a nice evening. Come and see who is meet the CEO of 7 Generation. She's definitely going to be there. We're trying to bring her mom in from Chile because her mom is in Chile right now because the Chilean government just kidnapped her for a few days, a few months to create the game for their educational system there. And they actually have the office there.
I think the answer is incentivized before the Chilean government ambassador says, we didn't kidnap anyone. No, great incentives to come down.
Okay, very good, very good, very good.
At the end of the day, I'm really looking forward for the 7 Generation. Having a presence here is not just about bringing a product and leave, but it's about following through and take it to create employment. I see a big picture with it. We could really be the hub in the Caribbean. So we are very happy to have you here, and I know that you're going to be back before 1 month to finish. So the only way forward is just to continue to press forward. So Trinidad and Tobago, starting with Andre, he may be our commentator for the night.
All right. Rox, any questions?
No, I don't have any questions.
As you go, final message from you.
I mean, I'm just so excited for all the opportunity and the potential and to actually be a part of, like I said, improving education and I see this event as a great opportunity to start, but it's just the start. So I'm really excited about being here for the first time and coming back many more times.
All right, thank you very much. Certainly much thanks to Maria Burns Ortiz and of course the man Jason Fraser. Both will be present on Saturday the 28th of April 2018 at the National Cycling Velodrome in Couva. It's all about Rough and Tough 8, the 8th edition of Rough and Tough. International fighters from all over the world and the Caribbean will be there. Boxing will be on as well, so you get your chance to come and watch boxing. It's all about April the 28th, and also you're going to get a chance with 7 Generation. You're going to find out more about an educational tool for your son and your daughter from just about 8 to 14 age. It's going to be an app that certainly will, a game app, that certainly will apply and educate them. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, we'll talk some football and then some cricket. We'll take a short break.
And now, another exciting adventure of the world's greatest football team, I-95.5 FM. Today, we take a look at the team as they head on down to the west, yet for another exciting game.
Well, looks like with these bus tickets, we spent about $87 getting our money back from our star player. Who? TG? I don't want to say the word. But I think it's the principle of the thing that matters. Oh, you've got to be shitting me.
Give me back my money!
Well, yes, we're going again. The world's greatest football team, I-95.5 FM. What we doing? We're taking on Soulville FC this Sunday at the D-Bay Recreation Ground, Long Circular from 5 p.m. But wait, hold on. Hey, Brent, where all the star striker together? I hear he on a sabbatical. How are you going and offset that? Anyway, that ain't my business now. I just come to tell the people how the world's greatest football team, I-95.5 FM, taking out the soul out of Soulville this Sunday from 5 p.m. at the D-Bay Recreation Ground. Don't forget, and they're going in without the star striker ticker, but still, we're taking out the soul out of Soulville. They're going back there as Ville. And next year, we go take on Ville.
Pay me what you want it. Don't act like you forgot. You better have my money. You better have my money.
The fearless one, Andre Errol Batiste, always stands up for his guest on iSports. Even when the callers get it wrong and think they are right, but still wrong. On Saturday, one caller got it wrong from the start. Listen. Wrong?
I'm trying to find out what is wrong with the Wired 868 headline.
Wrong?
Not the headline, sir.
Right.
Everybody knows that the individual sporting bodies have no access to the cabinet.
Everybody knows? Wrong? So the moral of the story is, whether you are Earl or Earlene, listen to your teacher. He knows best. And don't be rude like this on iSports.
So what's your point? So what's your point?
Because such action will not be tolerated by the fearless one.
So thank you very much. Good night. All right, let's move on.
Mommy, I want to go back to school.
Wait in town and tell the people about the musical disc coming your way.
Cricket.
Cricket being the most popular sport in this country. No, no, no. Cricket being the most popular sport in this country. Cricket being the most popular sport, being the most cricket popular sport, cricket popular sport, cricket being the most popular sport, being the most cricket popular sport.
Minister of Trade and Industry. Really? 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 Really?
No, no, no. Cricket being the most popular sport, being the most cricket popular sport, cricket being the most popular sport in this country.
Really? Really?
Cricket being the most popular sport, being the most cricket popular sport, cricket being the most popular sport in this country.
But the minister also said the Minister of Sports is doing good.
And to this end, I also want to take the opportunity to congratulate my colleague, the Honourable Minister of Sport and Youth Affairs. Very focused approach, sport and youth affairs. My colleague, very clinical, sport and youth affairs. My colleague, the Honourable Minister of Sport and Youth Affairs. Very focused approach to sport and youth development in this country.
There it is. Fearless one. That is why cricket has got 20 million TT. And the rest of sports is suffering.
Welcome back to I-95.5 FM. And as we told you, we're talking a little bit of football because there is the Republic Bank Youth Tournament that's taking place. Tony Harford, the man behind it, he is on the line talking to us. Tony, good evening and welcome.
Thanks, Andre. Can I just give you a statistic before we start?
Certainly.
About 5 or 6 years ago, I was listening to the then president of the Olympic Committee who was giving statistics on sport in Trinidad. And he mentioned there were 129,000 people involved in the sport of cricket. And the number of people involved in the sport of football was 334,000. I remember those figures as if I'd heard that speech yesterday. So football, if you had to use those statistics, is actually twice as popular as cricket.
Yes, I would totally agree with you, 100%.
I just heard your promo while I
yes,
was holding
no,
up,
no,
so
don't say my promo, please. The promo on the station, yes, but I understand what you mean. Understand. Certainly, to tell us a little bit about what we can expect.
This is indisputably the biggest youth football tournament this country has had, and it continues to grow. This is the 23rd year of the Republic National Youth Football League. 15 years ago, we became part of Republic Bank's Power to Make a Difference project, which of course is intended to empower and inspire and enlighten and shape young lives positively. And we think we've done that. We are very proud, Andre, that today when we look at all our national teams, every single player on every national youth team and most on the senior team are graduates of this Republic Bank Youth Football Program. This year, there's a whole lot to look forward to. We have almost 100 teams now. As of this evening, we could cross 90.
Wow.
And they'll be playing over the next 3.5 months on a zonal basis initially. So there's North Zone, which has the biggest crowd. There are some 34 teams already registered for North. There's South. There's Central, which is going to be a smaller zone, but no less enthusiastic. There is East, and Eastern counties play together. And a little later on, Tobago will start. So the entire country is involved in this project. And the carrot at the end of the stick from this year is that, according to Technical Director Anton Cornell, next year starts a new National Youth League, so that teams that do the best in this competition, maybe the quarter-finalists or the semi-finalists, will qualify for the new National Youth League along with the two best teams in the two age groups in the Pro League Youth Football. So there's going to be, for want of a better term, a Premier League National League for youth football, and all the other teams will then play in the Republic, which will serve as a feeder. So it's going to be a promotion relegation, and I think that way coaches and technical people will have an extended view of national talent.
So the event this Sunday is where? Where is the location?
Sunday is the official opening, and as is traditional now, we open with exhibition games at 2 o'clock at Larry Gomes. The defending under-12 champions Queen's Park are taking on a South Zone under-12. And at 4 o'clock, the defending under-15 champions, now under-16, Santa Rosa FC, is taking on a Northern Football Association under-16 team, which is made up of several national players.
So a lot to look forward to, Tony. In terms of the enthusiasm, you mentioned 90 teams. Have you found over the years that it continues to grow?
Oh yes. In the old days, before 5 years ago, Andre, it started as a 5-a-side and then became a 7 and then an 8-a-side tournament. And that was intended to bring children from communities just to play sport and learn to love football. We gave them a chance. We used to set up goalposts in every part of the country. Anna Maria Brooks at Republic Bank and I started this project together 23 years ago. Over the last 5 years, we've seriously assumed a FIFA posture. We play now strictly FIFA rules, length of time, size of field, size of goals, size of balls as per FIFA. And these children are now being selected, the better ones, to go into zonal teams and then hopefully subsequently national teams.
Okay, so as you go, I must touch on one topic, the Pro League, the situation with the Pro League. Happy with how it's progressing? I know you spoke a little bit on it the other night, but since then, happy with how it's progressing?
I don't have too much more information, so I don't know whether there's any progress. What I keep saying to people, Andre, is that whatever we think of the Pro League in Trinidad and Tobago, whatever posture we assume, it is a project we must never allow to die. This is too important a football project in our country, and if we are to qualify, we must seriously commit ourselves now to qualifying for at least one Junior World Cup, and certainly Qatar 2022. The Pro League will have a big role to play. How they go about changing the approach to you can't continue to beg the government. It's not working. It hasn't worked. So the model has to be changed. The business model has to be changed. I heard Alvin Cornell on his radio program the other night make a very salient point, and that is that, if you've invested in creating a Pro League team, then like every other business, you must be prepared to take the losses and share in the gains. You can't form a team, go into a professional environment, and keep your fingers crossed that the government pays your bills. That's just not how capitalism works.
Yes.
So I am hoping that, and I'm sure there are people with great ideas in this country. This country is full of people with good ideas, and we must find one. As I indicated to you the other night, I don't want to repeat myself, I certainly think the government needs to give them a start, give them a couple of community fields that they can maintain, and give the clubs maybe CPEP contracts so they earn some revenue while maintaining the fields, so they don't have to depend on government to maintain the fields as well. And certainly, as I said to you the other night, I presented once an idea for the government to go through NP and give a few gas stations, which gives a chance for both employment and revenue generation. Because as far as I know, I don't know too much about that business, but you earn money from the sale of gas, and really it is how you market your product. And I think if the Pro League gets an opportunity like that to build a platform, everybody benefits.
All right, so as you go, Tony Harford, Sunday it all starts, Republic Bank. Tell us again.
2 p.m., Larry Gomes Stadium, absolutely free to the public. We want them to come and support the next generation of stars. Queen's Park versus South Zone under 12 at 2 o'clock. And at 4 o'clock, Santa Rosa FC, the home team, against Northern Football's under 16 team at 4. Free to the public, main G, Larry Gomes Stadium.
All right. Thank you very much, Tony, and best of luck, and we'll keep in contact. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andre.
All right, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we will touch on some cricket, and then we'll play a short interview for you. We take a short break here on I-95.5 FM.
Agent confirmed.
Good day, Mr. Batiste. The man you're looking at is missing in action. No one can find him. No one can reach him. No one receives replies from him. That is unless you have a photo shoot, airline tickets, or a sofa. You may just have a chance of finding him. Your mission, Andre, should you choose to accept it, is to find this man, shadow him, and if you can, let him know that he's accountable to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. They say he's not so quick on his feet, so if you find him, it should not be a problem. Your team will encompass a lot of his friends, usual suspects, but don't be swayed by offers of wine, drink, and food. As always, Andre, should you or any of your iSports team be discovered, you will be on your own, and we will disavow any knowledge of the mission. This message will self-destruct in a few seconds. Good luck, Fearless One.
Cricket being the most popular sport in this country. No. Cricket being the most popular sport in this country. Cricket being the most popular sport, being the most cricket popular sport, cricket popular sport, cricket being the most popular sport, being the most cricket popular sport.
Minister of Trade and Industry. Really?
No. Cricket being the most popular sport, being the most cricket popular sport, cricket being the most popular sport in this country.
Really?
Cricket being the most popular sport, being the most cricket popular sport, cricket being the most popular sport in this country.
But the minister also said the Minister of Sports is doing good.
And to this end, I also want to take the opportunity to congratulate my colleague, the Honourable Minister of Sport and Youth Affairs. Very focused approach, sport and youth affairs. My colleague, very clinical, sport and youth affairs. My colleague, the Honourable Minister of Sport and Youth Affairs. Very focused approach to sport and youth development in this country.
There it is. Fearless One. That is why cricket has got 20 million TT. And the rest of sports is suffering. The Fearless One, Andre Errol Batiste, always stands up for his guest on iSports, even when the callers get it wrong and think they are right, but still wrong. On Saturday, one caller got it wrong from the start. Listen. Wrong?
I'm trying to find out what is wrong with the Wired 868 headline.
Wrong?
Not the headline, sir.
Right.
Everybody knows that the individual sporting bodies have no access to the cabinet.
Everybody knows? Wrong? So the moral of the story is, whether you are Earl or Earlene, listen to your teacher. He knows best. And don't be rude like this on iSports.
So what's your point? So what's your point?
Because such action will not be tolerated by the Fearless One.
So thank you very much. Good night. All right, let's move on.
Mommy, I want to go back to school.
And now, another exciting adventure of the world's greatest football team, I-95.5 FM. Today, we take a look at the team as they head on down to the west, yet for another exciting game.
Well, looks like with these bus tickets, we spent about $87 getting our money back from our star player. Who? TG? I don't want to say the word. But I think it's the principle of the thing that matters. Oh, you've got to be shitting me.
Give me back my money! Well, yes, we're going again. The world's greatest football team, I-95.5 FM. What we doing? We're taking on Soulville FC this Sunday at the D-Bay Recreation Ground Long Circular from 5 p.m. But wait, hold on. Hey, Brent, where all the star striker to go? I hear he on a sabbatical. How are they going to offset that? Anyway, that ain't not my business now. I just come to tell the people how the world's greatest football team, I-95.5 FM, taking out the soul out of Soulville this Sunday from 5 p.m. at the D-Bay Recreation Ground. Don't forget, and they're going in without the star striker Tigger, but still, we're taking out the soul out of Soulville. They're going back there as Ville. And next year, we go take on Ville.
Pay me what you want it. Don't act like you forgot. You better have my money. You better have my money.
Welcome back, everyone.
Yeah.
I suppose it's Thursday, interesting evening. Andre?
Yeah, the
you
West Indies
really
lost
want to
today.
talk about that?
No. In fact, no. The West Indies lost. That's it. West Indies lost. So if you want to talk about it, talk to your friend, talk to your partner, not us.
Folks, we have a lot to talk about in terms of sports. You know that sports constitutes part of the very important arts, culture, entertainment and sporting industries in Trinidad and Tobago. And it's a critical aspect of the diversification of our economy. And of course, it supports crime reduction, youth development, etc., etc. Well, the Ministry of Sport and Youth Affairs, they have been engaged in ongoing consultations on the new national youth policy and a new sport policy that expired last year. How far along are those talks and the consultations and so on, and the development of the actual policy? Well, the minister is here to tell us more about that, and also some of the matters facing the general sporting community. Mr. Smith.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Very importantly, when I last spoke with you, you were talking about the development of the national sporting policy.
Yes.
It was a document I think you had taken to Cabinet for approval. Yes. So now, has that document been approved by Cabinet?
Right, so that is the great news. Not only has it been approved by Cabinet, it was laid in Parliament on Friday.
Good.
Right, I'm going to make a statement on it on Friday. So it's good news all around. Since 2002, we haven't had a policy. And finally, we have one for 2017 to 2027, 10-year cycle.
10-year, okay.
Which is a moving document. It's very flexible. As you know, 10 years is a long time. And what I'm very proud about is a we document where we consulting the length and breadth of Trinidad and Tobago. I want to thank the THA, all the national sporting governing bodies, the athletes, the Ministry of Sport, the sport company, my PS, the entire team, Trinidad and Tobago, for really coming out because they understood how important this was. But the most important thing with this regards is the implementation and the monitoring. Right? The last policy was not implemented and it wasn't monitored. That's why we're so chaotic. So there's two appendices to the policy where there's a part of it where we're going to have a team making sure that it's monitored and implemented. The other appendices, which I know the public is really asking about, and it's for the first time, we're going to have a reward and incentive policy in Trinidad and Tobago. That has been used as a political football for years. Now athletes finally going to know what they get when they perform and do well at the highest levels, the Olympics, the Paralympics, World Cups, World Championships, the IAF, those levels. So we want to peg at the highest level for excellence.
Good. So all of those, the rewards and the incentives are in fact now predetermined.
Part of the policy.
Right? And that is now an integral part of the overall sporting policy.
And I'll tell you this, in 2002 they tried, it got withdrawn. In 2007 it was tried by the ministry, it was withdrawn by Cabinet. So I'm very proud for the first time we have that. We also have for the first time a maintenance policy for all our almost $4 billion in assets. That we have a policy now that has to be strictly enforced to maintain our facilities. We saw what we're doing in Dwight York and all the facilities that has been left to weather over the years. Finally, we have started to do that work. So once we bring all these facilities up to scratch, now there's a policy that has to be followed by the team and the sport company or whatever organization is in charge of it.
That is fantastic news because it brings a level of structure. But the more interesting aspect of that is, would you have also ensured that particular metrics were included in the policy so that you can measure the success of the implementation of the policy?
Right, and that is the monitoring aspect of it. And the policy, what we did was we engaged with best practice worldwide, Australia, Cuba, Jamaica, and so on, a number of other countries that are doing quite well in sport. And I mean, nothing under the sun is relatively new. What we just had to do is tailor it to Trinidad and Tobago's culture, to our athletes, to our, the spirit that we have. One of the cool things about it as well, we have a funding policy where the elite athlete funding is going to come under, and for the first time we have a development policy where The elite athlete is when you reach, when you're ranked worldwide. And a number of athletes that we speak to say they have reached there by luck and by God-given talents.
That's right, like Kishawn Walcott.
But a number of them, what we're doing now, there's a funding policy for development of young people from the primary schools, which we've been working very closely with Mr. Garcia and Dr. Lovell at Ministry of Education. And I want to thank all the NGBs. Part of their mandate when we came in was to ensure that they push primary school and secondary school. We're seeing level participation, record levels in terms of new sports being implemented in primary schools and old sports coming back. This tennis intercall for the first time a few years ago. We're bringing all those things back, and at the grassroots level as well. So that is something that I'm very, very proud of.
That is very important, Minister. But I have observed that in many instances, we may not always give due credit to like our Special Olympians or our Paralympians. Has that issue been addressed in the sporting policy?
Well, that is a very good one. Just this weekend, I attended the Special Olympics at the GMP, the only minister to ever attend. Just imagine that. For the past few years, we've been attending and attended some of the events. But it includes the Paralympians in terms of the reward incentives. So Akeem is going to be very happy. Noisha Kane as well is going to be very happy. We also, what we did was, this cabinet did it retroactive with regards to when we came in 2015. Now, there was a gray area during the election when quietly there was the IAF, where we also medaled. The women won the bronze and the guys won the silver. That was between the UNC PNM era. We also took them into consideration. So from August 2015 to today, so case in point, the men's hockey national team qualified for the World Championships. They're going to get part of the reward financially. The women volleyball team for the first time qualified for the World Cup in Japan. They're going to get a reward. So it's to ensure that the young people could aspire. Those who are incentivized by monetary could peg and know now if I qualify for this and so on, that I'll be rewarded in that aspect. So it puts all that to bed. But the main thing is the Olympics and the World Championships, the World Cups.
Fantastic. And of course, you know, over the past few weeks, again, the issue of how the elite athlete funding has been managed. You're well aware, Mr. Richard Thompson raised a number of issues in terms of from his perspective, the lack of professionalism in how, you know, the administrators dealt with the elite athletes and so on. Is that something that, as minister, you can address in any particular way?
No, the ministry put out a bulletin on that. I have the biggest respect for Richard, and know him quite well, his family and so on. He has served this country for many years, just like many others. And part of the policy is actually, you would have recalled, that's why we're trying to align all these stars, that we have a steering committee right now for the Sports Commission. Right? The Sports Company of Trinidad and Tobago was set up in 2004, and their mandate was to form the Sports Commission, which they never did. Right. The status quo stayed the same. So for the first time, we're going to have a Sports Commission, steered by Chairman Mr. Douglas Camacho, Marilyn Gordon, Brian Lewis, a number of people who